My mom kicked me out at 16 to focus on her new husband's twins. Now that I'm in upper management, she shows up demanding I fund their culinary school. But what happened on my porch changed everything. I still remember the smell of dry earth and diesel, two things that defined most of my childhood. My name is Eli. I'm 33 years old now, but I grew up in a quiet farming town in northern Missouri. Population? Less than 2,000. Everybody knew everything about everybody, except when it came to the things that actually mattered. My mom, Marla, had me when she was just 20. Fresh out of a rough breakup with my dad, if you can call him that. He bailed before I was born. She told me once, real casual, that he left a voicemail saying he wasn't ready for a family. Then he changed his number. That was it. So I was raised mostly by my grandparents, her folks. Nana and Pop salt-of-the-earth type people. They lived on a patch of land just outside of town with chickens, a few goats, and a wraparound porch that creaked like it was always complaining. My mom came by often, especially in those early years. She was always hustling, working full-time, going to massage therapy school at night. I remember falling asleep in her lap during her rare days off, her hands smelling like peppermint oil and exhaustion. She did her best. For a while, I actually believed that. Things changed when Gavin showed up. I was maybe 9 or 10. He had that kind of confidence that felt fake even to a kid, too cool, too slick, always calling me champ and ruffling my hair like I was a puppy. My mom lit up around him. I hated how she started laughing less with me and more with him. They got married within a year. After that, the balance shifted. We moved into his house across town, a newer, cleaner place that didn't feel like home. Gavin worked in insurance and had a habit of checking his reflection in every shiny surface. He wasn't mean exactly, just absent, emotionally vacuum-sealed. And Mom started picking up his habits, like she was trying to match him stride for stride. I started getting fewer hugs. Fewer, "How was your day?" questions. The house got colder even as it looked nicer. Then came the twins, Madeline and Jamie. I was 12 when they were born, and I knew I was already old news. I wasn't angry about the babies. They were just babies. But it was like once they arrived, I disappeared. Mom's attention rerouted entirely. Suddenly, everything was the twins this and the twins that. She barely noticed when I made honor roll or when I stopped eating dinner at the table. I spent more time at school or biking aimlessly until the streetlights flicked on. Gavin would grunt something about curfews, but he never looked up from his phone. The house was full, but I was lonely all the time. By 16, the tension had cracked wide open. I was working part-time at a local hardware store after school, mostly just to get out of the house. One night, out of nowhere, Mom pulled me aside. Said they were struggling financially and it was best if I moved in with Nana and Pop again. Just like that. I remember staring at her in the kitchen, her hands folded neatly on the counter like she was waiting for me to say thank you. Gavin wasn't even in the room, probably watching golf in his study. She didn't cry, didn't hesitate. So I packed up my stuff in silence, all while the twins watched cartoons in the living room like nothing was happening. She didn't even help me carry my bags to the car. Pop didn't say much when I showed up at their place, just nodded and helped me drag my suitcase upstairs. Nana made me a grilled cheese and called me sweetheart, like she used to. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan, realizing something that hurt more than anything else. I was on my own now. And the worst part? I knew they weren't going to come looking for me. Living with Nana and Pop wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, predictable. The kind of steady that keeps you from unraveling when everything else feels like a mistake. Pop had slowed down a lot by then, his back was stiff, and his knees crackled like old wood. Nana's arthritis made cooking a slow process, but she still did it most nights, humming low to herself like music was the only thing keeping her bones moving. I didn't complain. I couldn't afford to. I was 16 and suddenly responsible for more than just my grades. I started working evenings at a feed store off the highway, Barker's Supply. Big warehouse, fluorescent lights, and the kind of smell that seeps into your clothes and never leaves. I stocked shelves, unloaded pallets, swept sawdust off the floor until my arms ached. They paid under the table, cash in a white envelope that felt heavier than it should have. I hid it in a sock drawer under a stack of shirts I didn't really wear. I kept up with school. Mostly. I'd sit at the dinner table with a calculator and a can of off-brand soda, doing trig while Pop read the paper. Sometimes Nana would glance over my shoulder and smile. "You're gonna do big things," she'd whisper, more prayer than promise. Senior year rolled in faster than I was ready for. Everyone else was buzzing about college visits, dorm assignments, out-of-state dreams. I just kept my head down. Still, I filled out applications. I stayed late in the library using the school computers, typing essays about overcoming adversity and pretending I believed every word. Then came the FAFSA forms. The real hurdle. I needed parental information, income, tax returns, all that crap. So one night, I did what I hadn't done in months. I texted my mom. "Hey, I need your help for financial aid stuff. Just a couple forms. Can you help?" I waited. I kept refreshing the screen like it would make her answer faster. She finally did, 2 hours later. We're saving for the twins. Sorry. Can't help. Hope you understand. That was it. No punctuation. Not even a damn period. Just cold, clean rejection. I stared at the screen for a long time, longer than I care to admit. Not because I didn't understand, but because I did. I wasn't her priority. I hadn't been for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. I just powered it off and sat there for a while, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket made of lead. The next day, I told Aunt Rena. She was my mom's older sister. Widowed young. Worked as a bookkeeper out of her living room with 3 dogs that barked every time someone walked by the house. She didn't ask questions, just looked me in the eye and said, I'll co-sign whatever you need. Just don't screw it up. I promised I wouldn't. She didn't need to help me. She barely had enough for herself. But she did anyway. No drama. No guilt trip. Just quiet faith in a kid who nobody else had bothered to bet on. That night, I swore I'd never let her down. Not once. Not ever. College was brutal. Not in the way movies show it, with keg parties and sunny campus lawns, but in the way you can feel in your bones. Long days, longer nights, and a constant tightness in my chest that never really went away. I didn't have the luxury of just being a student. I had to be everything at once. A janitor, a tutor, a part-time tech guy, and somewhere in the middle of that, a young adult trying to get a degree. I worked 3 campus jobs. In the mornings, I scrubbed toilets in the science building before class. In the afternoons, I tutored other students in algebra and basic stats, sometimes kids who'd never looked me in the eye before suddenly treated me like I was the answer key. Nights were for fixing busted laptops and cracked phone screens out of my dorm room, cash only. I skipped a lot of meals and missed more sleep than I can count. But I didn't miss deadlines. I didn't miss payments. Every time I wanted to quit, I thought of Aunt Rena co-signing my student loan papers without even flinching. I pictured the way she hugged me after I got accepted, like she already knew I was going to make it. I owed her everything. When graduation finally came, it didn't feel real. I walked across that stage in a borrowed cap and a second-hand gown that didn't fit right across the shoulders. I didn't invite anyone from my mom's side. Not even out of spite. I just didn't want them there. Aunt Rena came, though. She wore a bright red cardigan and clapped louder than anyone in the row behind me. She even brought one of her dogs, a chihuahua named Moose, and tried to smuggle him in her oversized purse until security noticed. She cried when they called my name, full-on wiped her eyes with a tissue like I just won an Olympic medal. After the ceremony, we went out for burgers, cheap ones with greasy paper wrappers, and she gave me a card with a $100 bill inside. I knew it was more than she could afford, but she handed it to me like it was nothing. Start your new life, she said. My mom never texted, never called, never asked if I made it. And I was okay with that. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the weight of her absence. I had crossed the finish line on my own. Well, almost on my own. Because Rena? She was there the whole way. Quiet, steady, and solid. The kind of family you don't inherit, you earn. I was 33 and doing all right. Not flashy rich or Instagram famous, but solid. I worked in logistics management for a global food supply chain, big title, decent salary, health insurance that actually covered things. I had a 2-bedroom rental in Des Moines with a working dishwasher and a coffee maker that didn't leak. Life was finally quiet, predictable, peaceful, until it wasn't. It was a Saturday afternoon when I heard the knock. Not a delivery, not a neighbor, not someone selling solar panels. I opened the door and felt my stomach twist. There they were. Marla, my mother, older now, but still wearing that faint perfume she used when I was a kid. She looked put together, like always, but her face was tight. Next to her was Gavin, hands in the pockets of a Patagonia vest, that same disinterested smirk he'd worn when I was a teenager. They walked right past me like I had invited them in. Wow, Gavin said, glancing around. Didn't expect this place to be so clean. Marla gave a tight smile. You've done well for yourself. I didn't move from the doorway. What are you doing here? We need to talk, she said, sitting down on my couch like it belonged to her. It's about the twins. I blinked. Jamie and Maddie? They're applying to culinary school, she said. Real prestigious one in Chicago. Tuition's insane. Gavin chimed in, already scoffing. You wouldn't believe how much they're charging for some pans and an apron. Marla cleared her throat. We were hoping you'd be willing to help. I stared at her. You're serious, I said flatly. She folded her hands in her lap. You've had opportunities. You've made something of yourself. We thought maybe now you could finally give back a little. Give back. I repeated. You mean, pay for your other kids? They're your siblings, she said, like that was supposed to mean something. You kicked me out when I was 16. Remember that? Gavin rolled his eyes. It was a financial decision. Don't be dramatic. Oh, right, I said, my voice sharper now. Because I was such a burden. Marla sat up straighter. We did what we could. No, I snapped. You did what was convenient. You got new babies and a new life, and I was in the way. Gavin stood, suddenly defensive. You think you're better than us now? Just 'cause you move boxes around for a living. Logistics manager, I corrected, jaw tight. For a supply chain that delivers to 6 countries. He waved a hand. Yeah. Fancy title. Still a warehouse rat. I stepped toward them, every inch of calm I had burning out. Get out. Marla blinked. Eli. No, I said, pointing to the door. You don't get to walk into my house, insult me, and then ask me for money. This is about family, she started. No, this is about guilt, I snapped. You didn't raise me. Nana and Pop did. You chose Gavin. You chose the twins. Now live with that. Marla's face twisted. You're being cruel. No, I said, my voice low. Cruel was watching you stop loving me the second your new family came along. Gavin muttered, Jesus, under his breath and headed for the door. Marla paused, one hand on her purse strap. You owe us, Eli. I laughed short, sharp, bitter. I don't owe you a damn thing. They left without another word. The door clicked shut behind them like a final period on a sentence that had dragged on too long. I stood in the living room, hands still shaking, heart pounding in my ears. But under all that adrenaline, I felt something else too. Relief. They had finally shown their cards. And I was done playing. I thought that was the end of it. After I threw them out, I figured Marla and Gavin would stew in silence, maybe complain about me at dinner or send a guilt-tripping text I could ignore. But I forgot something important. My mother hated losing control, and she'd never been great at letting things go. 3 days later, it all exploded. I was halfway through my Monday morning meeting when my phone started buzzing in my pocket for missed calls from an unknown number. I silenced it and kept presenting the inventory slide to the room, trying to ignore the pit growing in my stomach. Then came the noise. I heard it before I saw her shouting, loud and shaky, from the front lobby. Muffled at first, then clearer as someone opened the glass door. Where is he? Eli. You think you can turn your back on your family? My spine locked up. I stepped into the hallway and saw her, Marla, standing in the middle of the reception area like she owned the place. Her lipstick was smudged. Her voice was shrill. And her eyes were locked on me the second she saw my face. You ungrateful little coward, she screamed. After everything I did for you. I looked around. Co-workers were frozen at their desks, half standing. Some of the interns peeked around corners like they'd just witnessed a car crash. Marla, leave, I said firmly. Now. She took a step closer, jabbing her finger in the air. You think you're too good for us now? You walk away like we're nothing. We are your family. Security was already moving. 2 building guards came up behind her gently but firmly, guiding her back toward the doors. She fought them, still yelling, still clawing for attention. This isn't over, Eli. You'll regret this. And then the door slammed behind her, leaving the lobby in a stunned, glassy silence. HR called me an hour later. They were professional about it, sympathetic, even, but serious. They asked if I needed a no-contact policy. I said yes. Then I went in my car, sat in the driver's seat, and took the rest of the day off. I wasn't angry. Not really. I was tired. Exhausted by the chaos she dragged with her like a storm cloud. But for the first time, I wasn't going to drown in it. I was going to protect the life I built, even if it meant protecting it from her. It was late Wednesday afternoon when I saw her again. I had just pulled into the driveway after work, still in my dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, tie loose. The sky was gray, heavy with the kind of clouds that never quite commit to rain. I got out of the car, grabbed my laptop bag from the back seat, and there she was, sitting on my porch steps like she'd been waiting all day. Marla. No Gavin this time. Just her, hunched over, arms wrapped around herself. For a second, I thought maybe she was calm. Maybe this was an apology waiting to happen. I was wrong. She stood up fast, eyes wide, hair a little wild around her face. You're ignoring me now, she snapped. After embarrassing me in front of strangers? I stayed by the car. You showed up at my job, Marla. Screaming. That's not how people have conversations. She walked toward me, quick, jittery. You think I care about some office full of people you don't even know? You made me look like a lunatic. I didn't make you do anything, I said quietly. You made me desperate. Her voice cracked. You think this is easy? Watching your son, my son, turn into someone so cold? So entitled. I stepped onto the grass, keeping space between us. You kicked me out at 16. Remember that. That was Gavin's decision, she hissed. We were under pressure. I didn't want to. But you did. I cut in. You let him call the shots. And when I needed help with college, you texted me like I was some distant cousin asking for a handout. Her mouth tightened. We were saving for the twins. Yeah, I said. You always were. She suddenly lunged forward and tried to grab the phone out of my hand. Are you recording this? Is that what this is now? You're setting me up. I took a step back, heart racing. What the hell are you doing? You're trying to destroy this family, she yelled, her voice rising high enough to echo down the street. That's when the neighbors started peeking through their blinds. Mrs. Carlson across the street opened her front door. The McKinnis, 2 houses down, came out onto their porch. It was like a curtain being pulled back, my private shame now on display for everyone to see. Go home, Marla, I said firmly, louder this time. You need to leave. You're ungrateful, she shrieked. I raised you. I gave you everything. No, I said, stepping onto the porch now, standing over her. Nana and Pop raised me. You passed me off the second you found someone easier to love. She lost it then. Full-on meltdown. Screaming, pacing in circles, throwing her arms in the air like she was fighting invisible ghosts. I was a single mom. I did my best. You think you're better than me? You're not. You never were. Sirens in the distance. I didn't move. I just stood there and watched as 2 police cruisers turned the corner and pulled up to the curb. One officer stepped out, calm but firm. Ma'am, we've had multiple noise complaints. We need you to come with us. Marla spun toward me. Tell them I'm your mother. Tell them this is a misunderstanding. I didn't say a word. As they guided her toward the patrol car, she twisted in their grip, still yelling. You're gonna regret this. You'll be alone. You'll die alone. The door slammed shut behind her. I stood on my porch, hands in my pockets, neighbors staring, faces tight with confusion or pity or both. And then I walked inside. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. Enough was enough. After the porch incident, things settled into a strange, quiet calm. The restraining order was granted faster than I expected. The officers who responded had already written everything down: statements, body cam footage, neighbor testimonies. I didn't need to explain much. The judge signed the papers with a quick nod, and just like that, Marla was legally required to stay away from me. Word got around. Even in a mid-sized city like Des Moines, gossip moved fast when it was wrapped in drama. A few coworkers asked gentle questions. I didn't say much, just that it was family stuff, and I was handling it. What surprised me was how my grandparents reacted. Nana called me the day after the order was finalized. Her voice was low and steady. We heard what happened, she said. We're sorry. We should have stepped in sooner. Pop didn't say much, but I could hear him in the background, muttering something about that damn Gavin and how she turned out. Then Nana said something I never thought I'd hear from her. We've cut her off. Just like that. No drama. No big speech. Just a quiet decision from 2 people who'd finally had enough. I didn't cry, but I think a part of me exhaled for the first time in years. A week later, I drove down to visit Rena. I hadn't seen her in person since graduation. We talked on and off, texted now and then, but life kept pulling us in different directions. That day, I showed up on her porch with a manila envelope and a small bouquet of gas station daisies. She opened the door, squinting into the sun. Eli, I owe you something, I said, holding up the envelope. She stepped aside, confused, and I followed her into the kitchen. While her dogs barked like it was the apocalypse, I handed her the papers. What is this? All expenses paid spa retreat, I said. For you and the kids. 5 nights. Private villa. No phones allowed. She stared at it, blinking hard. Then she sat down at the table and started crying. Not because of the gift, though she did say she'd never been on a plane before, but because someone finally acknowledged what she gave up for me. I didn't do it for payback, she whispered. I know, I said. That's why you deserved it. She wasn't just my aunt. She was my real family. It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind where the sunlight feels soft and the air smells like coffee and rain. I had just finished loading the dishwasher when my phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the message. Hey. I'm not sure if this is still your number. It's Jamie. Your brother, I guess. I'm sorry if that's weird. I wanted to reach out. I stared at it, blinking. For a second, I thought it had to be a mistake. Jamie? One of the twins? The last time I saw him, he was 12, barely reaching my chest and always glued to his tablet. I know we don't know each other, and I get if you don't want to hear from me. I just had a lot of questions growing up, and no one really wanted to answer them. Mom and Gavin told us some things, but they never really added up. And after everything that happened with you, God, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. I really am. You didn't deserve any of it. I sat down at the kitchen table and read it 3 more times. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but something that felt like cautious hope. He sent one more message. I'm not asking for anything. Not money. Not a place to crash. I just want to talk. Maybe know who you are. If you're open to that. I didn't answer right away. I made myself wait 24 hours, not out of punishment, but because I needed to be sure I could do this without dragging all the old weight with me. The next day, I texted him back. Hey Jamie, thanks for reaching out. I'm willing to talk. Let's start with a call, if that's okay. He replied almost instantly. Yeah, totally. Thank you. We talked that evening. Just over the phone. No pressure. No expectations. He sounded older, but unsure. Nervous, like he wasn't sure if he had the right to speak to me. I kept my voice even, careful not to let too much emotion slip in. We talked about school. his culinary dreams, how he'd always wondered why his older brother disappeared when he was a kid. And then, finally, he asked, "Why did you leave?" I took a breath. "I didn't leave," I said quietly. "I was pushed out." Silence. Then he whispered, "I figured. We didn't fix everything that night. We didn't pretend to be close or promise holidays together. But we talked. For 2 hours. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a ghost from someone else's story. I felt seen. And maybe, just maybe, I saw something in Jamie that wasn't poisoned by the past. Not a second chance. But maybe, a first.